What's going on, you guys? If you're new here, my name is Matt, and I'm going to welcome you to the channel. I just finished an amazing AMA with Jake and AJ from the L1 Dex team, and they are building the premier DEX for the L1DEX blockchain. What I love about the L1X ecosystem, including the L1 Dex, is it's a win-win for everyone involved. They're not competing with anybody. They're trying to bring everyone together. So I think you guys are really going to love this. Tune in and enjoy the AMA. You guys, I am so thrilled to have AJ Brockman and Jake from Dex Finance with me today for an AMA talking about L1 Dex, which is going to be the premier DEX on the Layer 1 blockchain that is being worked on. I think the beta is out right now, mainnet coming in the next couple of months. Super exciting technology, and they have the premier DEX on this new chain. And I just wanted to have them on to talk about this and all the different unique things that they're doing with L1 Dex. I think it's going to be amazing. So without any further ado, I thought it'd be good just to have people that don't know you guys very well, maybe just a quick introduction about yourselves. So maybe AJ, you could kick it off, and then Jake, and then we'll just dive right into L1 Dex and what you guys are doing there. But AJ, go ahead.
All right, right on, Matt. Well, again, brother, really excited to be back. We always love coming on your channel. I think this is the third or fourth time I've
Yeah,
been on, but yeah, man, we're excited, and we've been building. I mean, in the bear market, that is the time to build. And so,
right.
a little bit of background on me: I've been in crypto now for 10 years, which again, when I say that out loud, it makes me think I'm either
Yeah,
an old man or time flies when you're having fun. So, but yeah, over those 10 years. I started just like all of you, lost money to rug pulls and, the
yeah,
inner degen going after all these plays. But over time, I became more and more, versed in crypto. I fell in love
mhm,
with crypto. And with that, I built some amazing contacts. And we started EMP Money about 2 years ago now, and have learned even more through running that protocol. But really established ourselves as one of the true players in the industry, especially DeFi. And with that had some amazing opportunities with L1X. So part of our community was originally involved with L1X in a very early stage. L1X has been being developed out of the University of Western Australia. Kevin Cucino, the founder, he's an amazing guy, very, very smart. And when we saw what this code could potentially do, we
mhm,
got really excited. So that's when I said, if I could bring anybody on board that knows how to work, exchanges and build them from the ground up and do amazing, innovative tech around a DEX, it would be Jake. So Jake runs again his own protocol. I'll let him tell you,
sure,
but it's been a match made in heaven so far. So go ahead, Jake.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks for the warm welcome. And the feelings reciprocal, of course. Uh, some of my, I've gotten some constructive criticism that I don't do enough marketing, and my team really sticks to building. So it's really a unique combination to have someone like AJ who has this long-standing reputation in the community, and just a master of promotion and the contacts and everything to bring it all together, right? So it really makes for a good team. But a little bit about myself, I come from a more traditional finance background. I was a pit trader for about 12 years. I traded U.S. Treasury bonds.
Mhm,
I got into crypto maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and in the between those times, I also had I still have a software development company. So I was able to kind of translate those kind of two rounds, the finance and media and development. So crypto really suited me well. And the whole industry of crypto, it's exciting, and it plays into my background for being a trader. But at the same time, there's just the exposure and the risk tolerance.
yeah,
The rug, you know, there's just something's just really made me cringe, right? So,
mhm,
we've had several protocols all under the same brand, for several years now. So, similar to AJ, we've stuck through it and made some really great things. But, over the last, especially 6 months to a year or so, we've really switched to just only real yield products.
yeah,
Trying to build actual things, and most of our products kind of have likened to more of the financial products. We built a cool like a non-custodial ETF system. We had an IRA token for a while that kind of mimicked traditional IRAs, those kinds of things. And the goal is to, it's a growing industry,
Yep.
and there's a lot of people, like myself, like I was, 5, 6 years ago, that are just kind of dipping their toe in the water. So,
Uh-huh.
linking up with AJ for this Dex here, that was one of our big kind of focus points was, how do we make this accessible? How do we make it, easy to use, get people in without, scaring them off or having them lose money,
Right.
those kinds of things.
Yeah, and I'll just say, this is what makes me excited, and this is why I'm always open to having people like you guys, like AJ on the channel and Jake. I haven't had you on the channel yet, but it seems like you're in line with this. But AJ, like you said, has been building in the bear market, trying to make the space better. He's one of the guys out there who's actually endeavoring to make the space better because, to be honest, there's a lot of bad with the good. The technology is amazing. What can be done is amazing when people use it in the right way. And it's just refreshing to be around people that are endeavoring to do that. It seems like that's what you guys are all about. So I love it. I love that you guys are here. And maybe we can just jump right into L1 Dex then. And what is the opportunity there? And maybe we need to even talk about L1X first, just because I think, if people don't know what that is, it's a really key part of what makes L1 Dex something valuable.
Yeah, no doubt, Matt. So, and again, man, the feeling is mutual. I appreciate you highlighting, the good guys in crypto, so to speak. And yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting few and farther between, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But again, man, we definitely have that ethos moving forward. And
Yep.
yeah, to start off, I mean, L1X, again, they have been building something that is truly a product market fit within crypto right now.
Mhm.
What I refer to as the holy grail of really true interoperability. And as a crypto user, for the last 10 years, and even more specifically, recently, having to bridge between different chains, having the security risk involved with that,
Mhm.
having to choose, even as a developer, having to choose, what protocol to build on. These are all
Yeah.
major, major pain points that nobody has really been able to solve. Now, there's been some band-aids,
Mhm.
again, not to talk down about any other project, but they really haven't really solved it truly. And L1X, I believe, has. So, again, we were on the channel about 6 months ago
Mhm.
for the pre-sale, the private pre-sale. And that really, again, there's a great AMA with
Yeah.
Matt if you guys want to go back and watch that one. But it really gives a good overview of L1X itself. But how that relates to L1 Dex is, not only have they solved this interoperability, which again, I know that's a big word to back up, a great example or analogy that I like to use is different languages. So
Mhm.
pretend that Ethereum, everybody on Ethereum speaks English, everybody on BSC speaks Spanish, and everybody on Phantom speaks French. Well, unless you have a translator, in between, those chains can't understand each other. Just like
Mhm.
unless you didn't know another language, you wouldn't be able to speak or communicate in that language. Well, L1X is essentially a microchip inside of your brain that allows you to understand every single language on every single chain. So again, just like in the real
Yeah.
world, you would be able to communicate and interact with all these other chains. So it really is an amazing solution to bring all the chains
Mhm.
together. And that is especially powerful when you apply this DEX on top of it. So again, I'll let Jake kind of go into the technical
Before
side of
we
things. Yeah, okay, sorry, go
Before
ahead.
we
Yep.
jump into that, just to touch on my understanding of it, because I think when a lot of people think about the interoperability of it, they think about maybe it's easy to bridge from one to the other. But with Layer 1X, there's also the ability to use logic from one chain to the next chain, right?
Yes, that's a great point, brother. So, and again, we'll tie this into the decks too. But even
Yep.
on the the layer one, pun intended, the main chain, yes, this is something very different. Not only are you able to transfer tokens and value, but you're also able to transfer logic, and that's what really sets layer one X apart from some other, protocols that are trying to do the same thing. And the way this is achievable is that L1X has its own virtual machine. So again, typically everything that you're used to runs on the Ethereum virtual machine,
Yeah.
or it's Rust based, like Solana. Rust is a programming language. So
Hmm.
L1X is able to have its own virtual machine that can actually be compatible with EVM and non-EVM chains, which again, no other protocol has ever been able to do that. So, again, those are just some really key points of why this is so different and why this is so powerful. So, yeah,
Yeah,
well, go ahead, Matt, or if, yeah, sorry if
I
you
can
had a
give you
follow up. Yeah, go ahead, Jake. Yep.
I can give you
Yeah.
a little more granular explanation too.
Sure.
There's a the way that this is done, through this virtual machine. There's a component that's actually built into the blockchain itself, right? It's called the Xtalk rule engine, right? And so what this does is, with its interoperability between the chains, this rule engine is just always sitting there listening for events, right? So if any of these interoperable chains, Ethereum, Optimism, Arbitrum, as soon as something is happening on the chain, the rule engine's listening for that, right? And it's able to pull that information, logic, NFTs, tokens, and then actually translate that in real time, and process that to the next chain.
Okay.
Similar to AJ's example of the translator, right? It's
Uh-huh.
this little literal translator that's translating, Ethereum code to Solana code, and kind of spitting it out as it goes, right?
Interesting.
Um, yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And Jake, just again, just to give it a great example, not only are we talking, and again, I know your audience is maybe a little bit newer to crypto, but that even NFTs, the ability to have NFTs interact with each other on multiple chains. I mean, again, to give a great example of that,
Yeah.
pretend that you want to sell your NFT on, you want to sell your NFT, period. Well,
Okay.
you're able to actually list it on all the interoperable chains with L1X on
Interesting.
every single marketplace, and then once it sells, it automatically removes it from all the other chains that it again was listed on. So that's just another
Wow.
exact example of this technology in use. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, timing wise is interesting where we're at in the market cycle of things. And as this is getting closer to mainnet launch, I think there's, like you talked about, product market fit. And I think both for the user, people that are just wanting to use the chain to interact with smart contracts, to bridge tokens, all that stuff is going to be massive. But then there's the whole aspect of people wanting to build and making the people who are building projects their lives better and easier, because now you don't have to pick a certain chain to build on, because it's almost like, well, what's the new hot chain? I'm going to build on that chain. But then what happens if the attention moves to another chain? And then you're stuck with your project over there, and then you got to figure out how to get it to a different chain. But with L1X, obviously, that's not the case. You could build on one chain and have access to all the TVL and all the chains, all the money flow, and I think that's going to be huge. And also, it means there's no competition. So L1X is not trying to actually compete; it's trying to unify everybody. To me, that's a product market fit that is doable, because people would say we don't need another layer one blockchain. That would be an argument. We have enough layer one blockchains, so why do we need another one? And I think this is kind of the statement of, you need this, everybody working together. This has never been done before. If you can do this the right way, I think it blows the roof off of what's possible. And then you guys having the main DEX on this chain is a big deal.
Honestly,
Absolutely, Matt. I
I think
love
you hit
it.
it right on the yeah you hit the nail right on the head there. There's just so many new chains that pop up.
Yeah.
And honestly, we fell victim ourselves. I mean, we were on BSC,
Uh-huh.
several months ago. We moved to Arbitrum because that was, a lot of
That
money
was
was
the hot
flowing
thing.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And I mean, it's still better than BSC, and in my opinion, for what we're, our needs, But yeah, then of course, Optimism is still getting money. Base
Yeah.
Chain is, got the most addresses in the first couple weeks that, out of
Yeah.
any layer two, right? So you just get in this cycle where you're just following the money.
Right.
And, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, when you think about it, when you're trying to build, a website, right? You don't build it for one browser, right? You build it for the internet, and then
Right.
people can access it everywhere. The blockchain's not like that right now. It's like you have to build on, Base or on AVAX, right? And
Uh-huh. Yeah.
money keeps moving around. And AJ's last example is great because, like, sure, you could list an NFT on 10 different networks, but actually, it's when you think about it, it's almost cooler when you think about it the other way, right? Where um, it's not even listing on 8 chains. It's just living on one chain, or on it's living somewhere, and people
Hmm.
can access it from any chain, right? Like, if you have a token you want
Yeah.
to launch, why, like, there's no real reason to go to any certain chain except that's where the money's at, and people don't want to bridge over to buy your token, or they don't have the gas
Yeah.
tokens. I mean, but if you make this your token, your NFT, whatever it is, if you make it so that anybody can purchase it from any chain, it's just a win-win overall.
Wow. Yeah. It's kind of mind-boggling. Like when you start stretching your mind to understand,
Yeah.
I guess, the possibilities and what it can mean. But yeah. So why don't we just talk about L1 Dex then? What's different about it? What attracted you guys? Why did you even want to get involved with this? Other than we just talked about the great disruptive technology that's happening with L1X, but like you in particular, like wanting to attach your name to it and get involved.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'll start off, and again, Jake can do a deep dive. But yeah, I mean, again, I think the initial, hype, at least for us internally, was this amazing disruptive technology that L1X has. And
Mhm.
on top of that, we had thought, man, what, as far as a revenue stream, or if you have any protocol in crypto, what would be the top dog? And that is a DEX. I mean,
Yeah.
again, that is the cash cow of crypto, and
Mhm.
marrying those two together is just such a recipe for success. And I'll let Jake go into more, but Jake was already running his own successful decks,
Okay.
and he was able to band-aid some of these solutions, through very duct tape MacGyver tactics, but there was never really a good solution
Mhm.
to actually have this happen on chain and be very safe, other than L1X. So again,
Mhm.
when we kind of put our heads together and said, "Hey, let's put together a proposal for L1X," because to be clear, even though we had a great relationship with L1X, we were bidding for the opportunity to build the Premier Dex. And
Mhm.
we presented a very robust proposal, Jake and I, and one of those things that, again, in my opinion, I don't know if this is true, but the fact that we don't have a reward token on the Dex, and
Right.
we actually use L1X, I think that probably sealed the deal for us in getting this contract.
You're
But yeah, I
you're
mean,
probably right
yeah.
because that showed that you were had the betterment of the actual blockchain in mind over your own pockets. I think that's
Totally. Totally, and we'll talk more about that specifically. But yeah,
yeah.
Jake, you just want to give a high level overview from the tech side of how this Dex is different, and yeah, anything else I mentioned. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so I mean, like AJ mentioned, we set up our own decks a couple months ago when we moved to Arbitrum, um, and this was kind of in line with one of our kind of a visions moving forward. Our goals was to create like a centralized, for lack of a better term, decentralized, but one single hub for all the needs in crypto, right? We found that it's very segregated, right? There's one or two major lending protocols. There's one or two major exchanges. There's one or two vault companies, doing it. But you really have to jump around. You have to know what you're doing. You have to find out how to get your money different places, right?
Mhm.
So we've always kind of set out to build like a one-stop shop. And especially like after seeing the FTX collapse and things like that,
Yeah.
obviously we felt a real need in the space for, a good exchange with the UI, UX usability of something like a centralized exchange. Now, when we actually set up, our decks on Arbitrum,
Mhm.
it actually wasn't, we also don't have a reward token. We're not one of these just trying to gobble up all the liquidity and get
Yeah.
as many fees, but we wanted to build like software and build on chain, like tools that we could then, offer to other, B2B services.
Okay.
Things like bot protection, gasless trading, those kinds of things that other DEXs just aren't doing. So that was
Right.
always kind of our goal. And, AJ mentioned we even, tried to kind of band-aid solution up with like, uh, aggregators on top of exchanges using like, um, you know, uh, Paraswap and 1inch and stuff like that, right? But again,
Hmm.
that's still siloed on a single chain,
Right.
and actually, one of the things we for since I've been in crypto, one of the things I've always said was, I'm just not going to build a bridge. Like that'll always be one part. I'm like,
Yeah.
ironically, we're doing this now, but I swear to God, I've even, we have a pretty large dev team, and I've always said, you know what, guys, let's not even worry about this. It's just too dangerous. You know,
Hmm.
I don't want to spend all this time and energy building out all these great products and then have it flop because somehow somebody stole a couple $1 million from us.
Right.
So we always stayed away. But again, when this opportunity came up and we were able to kind of look under the hood and see, what we could actually build with the security and functionality, and it's just it's a really powerful package, all this together in one spot.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. So why don't you talk about, you touched on the fact that it has some of the best parts of a centralized exchange, but not the bad parts. Maybe you could talk about, what that is. And probably the main thing, not to steal your answer from you, is that you're not taking your people are remaining in control of their tokens and their funds, right?
Yeah, of course. Obviously it's difficult. Like, you really have to know what you're doing. Just to even set up a MetaMask. Like no one,
Yeah,
no one really, no one really wants to do that as a newcomer. And
right.
of course, you at some point you need to, right? But um, you know, we really want to take a customer first approach, right? So, like one of the
Yeah,
features we're offering is a sign up with an email account, where
that's
a
cool.
user can sign up with an email account. They still own the crypto. It's their, wallet's created for them. It's stored on their
Huh.
own encrypted email address, and then they can essentially just trade on the DEX without having to store a passphrase. They can always get back in, right? And obviously there's some limitations that we want to at some point start moving them out of that phase once they get to a certain dollar amount, and moving them into a little more secure,
Uh-huh.
secure way of moving around with funds through education, right? But at least it gets people in the door, Um, and
That's
then the
interesting.
next and then the next hurdle you get into is like, okay, well, so now I have this this wallet from an email address I'm in. I don't have to worry about passphrases and stuff. But now what do I do, right? Like, I have to know how to import. 10 different chains with different RPCs, and like even people in our communities are still like, what's an RPC? Like,
Right, right.
you know what I mean? So like there's just such a huge learning curve, um, you know, just getting funds in and moving around.
Mhm.
So, we wanted to, offer like gasless trading. So you don't necessarily need gas tokens on every exchange. And that combined with the interoperability, the cross-chain swaps, basically you can just sign up with an email address. You can deposit, your USD in, and then buy literally any token on any chain that we're compatible with, and just begin trading. You don't have to worry about sending your tokens to the wrong address or wrong chain and losing your funds, right? It's all concise and in there, and you don't have to worry about that. And then even the next step further, like for people that are familiar with blockchain and are more serious traders. On the other side, we really wanted to focus on like the UI, the UX, on chart trading, showing order histories, things where like on something like PancakeSwap, you just go and make a trade, and then you're like, oh well, okay, what the heck? What did I just do? Did I am I am I
Right.
profit? Am I profitable? What just happened there? Like, how much did I spend in gas? Like, just you don't get a P&L. You don't get those rich features that you get on a
Yeah.
centralized exchange.
The ability to do things like limit orders and things like that as well.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool. And then in terms of the people, like I love the idea of keeping, because in order to get more users in the space, we have to be thinking of, you know, being user friendly, like you said. So these people that are coming in from like bringing in mass adoption, they're coming in and they're signing up with an email address. Let's say they buy some tokens, like where does that live? Is that inside of the DEX itself, or is that an L1X wallet, or?
Yeah, they actually get when you sign up, and it creates a wallet address for you, and then
Okay,
yeah, so they just have their own wallet attached to that email, that's already linked to the Dex.
cool.
We obviously don't have any access or control. The
Hmm.
passphrase, they do still get a passphrase. It's just encrypted on their own email address that only they can access.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and to that point too, Matt, I mean, again, the idea is that we want to cater to everybody. And
Yeah.
again, I think, there's a fine line of trying to do too much too soon.
Hmm.
But I feel like, we have the track record to back up what we're doing. And again, Jake has already been running these sort of same similar concepts with
Right.
success. And 99% of crypto, they think that crypto is buying Bitcoin or Ethereum
Yes.
and holding it. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I love the hodl mentality.
Yeah.
But there's just so much more. And again, Matt, we're in the depths of DeFi, and we love experimenting and
Yeah.
doing, ways to yield on our funds. Again, putting our money to work for us.
Right.
Those are some advanced concepts. But that's how people truly make it, and become financially free. And so we
Right.
want to have that guided process. And again, at EMP, we were one of, or the first protocol to have an online academy,
Yeah.
free online academy about our protocol. So we're gonna bring all that same education based rollout to the Dex as well. And to Jake's point, you get them in the door with an email address, but then, once they hit
Yeah.
$1,000 of activity, we literally teach them how to use the L1X wallet. We allow them to become better crypto users. And for me, again, being so passionate about crypto, that's one of the most exciting things for me, is that we're going to actually have a whole new um, wave of educated users
Yeah.
just through the Dex alone. So yeah, it's exciting for sure. Yeah.
That's
Also
amazing.
worth noting quick, all the features that I just kind of described, those are all optional features, right? So, if you're a serious DeFi
Yeah.
trader, and, you're like, we don't want to turn people off by saying, oh, you need an email address, right? Like, if you have your ledger, and, your 20
Hmm.
wallets that you want to use, you're welcome to do so. You can use your own gas on every chain. These are just optional features that, will let, a broader spectrum of people come in.
No, that's a good point. Yeah. Maybe you could talk about you guys, like bridging versus I heard in a different AMA you guys did, you call it tunneling or something like that.
The
Maybe you can
funnel, yeah.
talk about
Yeah, that was Jake's yeah, genius of a tunnel instead of a bridge. Or I think that the technical word that L1X uses is an X swap. But yeah, Jake,
okay.
absolutely. Maybe kind of go through the traditional bridging method and how L1X is different. Yeah.
And also just
Yeah.
highlight you did mention the security risk of bridging, but I know there's like an astronomical number last year that happened, like people who
Of
lost
course.
money in bridging.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and it's, the visual representation of, a tunnel versus a bridge, I think, is important too, because, they call it a bridge because, there's two separate assets. Like, imagine,
Yeah.
two pieces of land, two islands, and, chain A and chain B, and to
Hmm.
get your funds from that, across the island, you have to go up and over, to move the funds, right?
Hmm.
What you're actually doing is depositing your funds on chain A, um, and getting a receipt token, and then that receipt token has to travel over the bridge and be claimed on the other side. And this is, not even just last year. This is an ongoing, every year. It's by far the largest attack vector in crypto.
Hmm.
Three and a half billion dollars last year was stolen. Um, out
Crazy.
of 80 billion total, right? So, like, it's not a small thing, and it just
Hmm.
keeps happening, right? And, within that whole bridge scenario, at the very minimum, you're talking about two transactions. Sometimes, depending on, which bridge you're using, where they're routing different tokens, that are in there, it can be up to like eight transactions, right?
Hmm.
So not only is there a higher potential of security risk, but it's always going to be more expensive. I mean, if you're making
Yeah.
4 transactions on Ethereum and another 4
Yeah.
on on another chain, those all add up, right? And they also take time because they have to be each transaction has to be verified.
Mhm.
Uh, and so, we're calling it the tunnel because we don't have to go up and around. We literally can tunnel right through between the blockchains. It's like a little, like a little vortex that just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's this communication between them that doesn't have to go up and around. It all happens on chain, where the information comes in from one blockchain. It's read by this rule engine and then just directly spit out to the other chain in a single transaction. So you're only paying half or an eighth of the cost, and it's also because of that it's also much faster as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we too, and happy to have a follow up, Matt. But we just released a video on our L1 Dex YouTube comparing a swap on our Dex again on chain. The chain went live. It is in a beta phase, but the chain is
Mhm.
live. And we were literally 30 seconds compared to 90 seconds, and that was just for the initial confirmation. That wasn't even the actual transaction to finish.
Okay.
But and we were half the price. So again, and that was with Stargate, which is the leading. Again, shout out to them. They're the best solution right now.
Mhm.
And we were able to literally blow it out of the water. But yeah.
That's amazing. So yeah, it's less steps, which makes it safer, and it's faster and it's cheaper. Is kind of what I'm gathering.
Yeah, it's a trifecta. I was actually I was looking at some of the numbers last night, and we haven't actually talked about this on any previous AMAs. It's interesting to think about.
Mhm.
Stargate does like they're one of the largest, and I think definitely, like I give them some props. They're definitely the best solution out there right now. They're doing about 40 million in daily volume, right?
Wow.
Which comes out to like like roughly 100K a day in actual revenue. And again, they're like a top 200 token, right? They're doing massive amounts of volume, so for us, like again, cutting in at like 5 times faster.
Mhm.
And actually we used USDC, just USDC to USDC, from 2 Ethereum based chains, right? And that's actually their fastest,
Okay.
so it can be actually, it could be like, I've waited for a day sometimes on some bridges,
Yeah.
um, but I mean, just claiming some of the market share, which I think is going to be a pretty easy, an easy task, right?
Yeah.
Somebody start, we're live, and people ask all the time, how do I buy funds? What's the best bridge? It's not like, oh, I like Stargate, or I like,
Yeah. There's not
or it's going to
brand
be definitive.
loyalty for bridges.
Yeah, this is
Like,
going to be definitive. It's like L1 Dex is by far the fastest, the cheapest, the safest. So it's
right.
pretty
Right.
exciting to think about those numbers.
That's
Yeah.
very. Yeah. I'm glad you brought the numbers into it because that really puts it in perspective. Number one. I mean,
Not only that too. If you indulge me, I almost feel like the market as a whole, the bridging market, right? Like we said, it's an $80 billion industry, right?
mhm.
But I think there's actually a lot of opportunity costs that aren't being associated, right? Because you think about it, you know, if there's $80 billion of people that are bridging funds every year,
Mhm.
how many people on top of that didn't bridge funds because they didn't want to spend the $20 or they didn't want to wait a day to do it, right?
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Or
and
don't know
this,
how to.
yeah, right. And like if it's easy and it's accessible and it's fast, like there's been times where like a new project will come out and I'm like, okay, shit, I got to get 10,000 over to this chain to get in on the launch, right? And
Yeah.
then you miss it, right? You're like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to leave my funds there. Like, but
Yep.
if you can do it in 20 seconds and it's affordable,
And safe.
that probably spawns a whole new, a lot
Yeah.
more additional volume coming into the space.
Right. And if you earn the trust of a few key influencers in the space that everyone's paying attention to, I mean, they're going to be the ones talking about it, referencing it, pointing to it. That's going to draw a bunch of eyeballs of new users using it. So, no, I agree with you 100%. I mean, that
We're
stopped me.
we're
And
counting on you, Mac.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yes,
that
totally.
that stopped me from getting in on a lot of launches, just,
Totally.
all the work that it would take to get it over there, and, when you hurry doing that stuff in crypto, you can often make mistakes and lose money, and a lot of people
So
just lose money bridging to the
so
wrong yeah, they
mhm.
don't even know what happened to their money, like, "I sent it
Yeah.
somewhere. Where'd it go?"
Mhm.
Yes, off in the ether somewhere, right?
It's
Yes.
yeah, I mean
The crypto gods, a sacrifice to the crypto gods.
right, so there's
Yeah.
this whole, I guess I don't even know if you'd call it bridgeless, but there's this whole bridging element to the L1 Dex, which is pretty awesome. Um, now people can they use the L1 Dex bridging function from another chain, or does this all have to happen on layer 1x?
Yeah, so I'll handle the overview and
Sure.
Jake can get into the nitty-gritty. But yeah, that was really important to us. We went back and forth a lot with the foundation and really making sure that at least in the beginning that it was compatible with a MetaMask or
Mhm.
a Rabi or a Trust wallet, any sort of wallet that you're used to. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, it will be able to be accessed from any chain. But the wallet, the L1X wallet itself, is very powerful as well. So the idea is that we let people use this. They fall in love with it. They think they see what a better solution this is. And then we say, well, if you thought this was powerful, look at all the additional features you can actually do with the L1X wallet. So it is sort of a multi-step approach as
Mhm.
we roll out. But again, to answer your question, it will be accessible by anyone. And again, that is powerful for
So powerful.
adoption. Yeah, totally.
I would only add that not only will you be able to, come to L1X and bridge from any chain, tunnel from any chain, um, but you'll also be able to access this through our partner network, right? In fact, we're, through our SDKs, right?
Mhm.
Partner exchanges, or even partner projects, right? Can spin up their own white labeled version of the Dex, have their own interface, their own themes on it. So you don't even have to know about L1Dex. You don't have to come to the app. You could literally go to
That's
any
cool.
any partner Dex, use the same, it all goes through the same technology. It's all funneled through us.
Yeah.
But you could access it through anywhere. You can even access it without having the gas token. So like if you got stuck with USDC on AVAX and you just want to get it to Polygon, and you come across a partner Dex, you can you'll be able to tunnel right from that partner Dex, to get to your destination chain. And even further, we're actually paying the partners to do this, right? We're not. It's not like a big ask. We're not saying, "Oh, please, pretty please, put this on your app," right?
Yeah.
We're saying, "Hey, here's the free technology. Feel free to use it. You'll get money, on and off your exchange faster, which brings you more volume. But also, we're going to keep track of anybody, all the volume that comes through you. We're going to pay you for each transaction that goes through, via your SDK."
Man, I
Yeah,
love
and
this, you
yeah,
guys.
yeah, man, and it ties into the ethos too. Matt, you mentioned this earlier. We're able to do all of this in a non-competitive
That's what I
manner.
love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that is so key, especially when in the current landscape when everybody's out for themselves. We want to
Right.
help other dexes and we want to drive more volume. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody for sure.
And how will people know that it's a partner Dex?
Go ahead, Jake.
Well, I mean, in theory, they might not even.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
like I said, we're not
Yeah.
in this for the fame. You know what I mean? We want to just
Sure.
build cool technology, and of course, we're
Yeah.
we're for profit, but we don't really necessarily care that like everyone
Mhm.
knows what L1Dex is, as long as people are using, because basically we've built this whole engineering layer, that supports not only all the way back down to L1X, the blockchain, but we're there's layers of it. So basically, we've built on the L1X SDKs, and then we have an additional engineering layer that's built on top of us, so that basically the liquidity all lives through us, but then
Mhm.
can be accessed through different chains, different partner dexes, right? So if you're a partner dex, or even like I said, a partner project, like one of the big hurdles, not even a hurdle, but one of the missed opportunities, we'll say, when we launched our first product, on Smart Chain, of course we just deployed the LPs on
Hmm.
Pancake swap, and it was just what you did. And I went back at some point and reviewed the numbers, and like I think it was like I could have made we could the pro not me but like the protocol, the treasury could have made like almost a $500,000 just on swap fees alone that we just gave to
Wow.
Pancake Swap. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And at the time, I was just kind of getting started, so we're just trying to launch smart contracts, right?
Right.
But with this, what we can do with this now is we can offer a package, like not only just the SDK, but give projects like full repos with front end code, which is normally held back, sample contracts, right? So
Hmm.
they can just literally just clone and deploy, and then have their own personalized exchange, cross chain exchange, where they just can start
Wow.
adding their own liquidity, and now people can buy. You could be an individual project with their own app. Just say, come to my app, keep all the customers within your ecosystem, purchase my token with any chain.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
well,
awesome.
and to piggyback on that too, it's also an amazing, again, product market fit in terms of actual liquidity as well. So typically, if you're a protocol building, not only do you have to choose what chain you're on, but if
Mhm.
you try to be a multi-chain protocol, now you have to provide liquidity on all those chains. So again, just to give some hard numbers, say that you had to provide $1 million of liquidity on 3 different chains, that your project is or is operating on. Well, with L1X, again, through these SDKs that Jake just mentioned or any partner protocols, rather than just providing that, individual 1 million on each separate chain, you could take all 3 million, which is the total of the liquidity you're
Uh-huh.
providing, and now offer that on every single chain, which
Yeah.
is just so much more capital efficient,
Mm.
for protocols and for users. So again, that's just yet another, real world use case, that we are completely solving or offering a better version. Yeah.
So okay, this sounds really amazing, but I want to make sure that I'm understanding it correctly. So Jake, when you were talking about your first project and you launched the LP on PancakeSwap and basically missed opportunity of like a $500,000. So if I want to launch a project and I want to do it on Layer 1X using, I guess I would create the LP and put it within the L1 Dex. But are you saying that the projects themselves can get a part of the swap fees of their what happens when people are trading their tokens?
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually adjustable fees, so your project can charge whatever they want, and that's specific to their own SDK. So yeah, you
Cool.
can have an individual, exchange, again, with cross-chain capabilities. We'll even probably offer some of our more advanced UI kind of stuff as well. So without having, even you could put this on like a WordPress page even, like, you don't need to be super advanced, to do this. It'll be accessible to everyone. And, like to AJ's point, especially, it's almost especially prevalent for, like the mid-sized projects that, may be on a couple chains. You know,
Mhm.
uh, this kind of fragmented liquidity, I think is not discussed enough, because
Yeah.
it's honestly one of the largest, like even in the traditional finance world, it is actually, that is, it's funny, this is actually talked about there. That's one of the big negatives about crypto in general, is that the market cap is not really indicative of what's
Mhm.
actually behind it, right? Because you can get burned by, and again, and this is the reason people do it is because they want to have their token available for sale on 5
Yeah.
different chains. I mean, because you want to go where the money's at, right? But every
Yeah.
time you branch off, you're dividing that liquidity, so the price impact's going to be, you're getting larger price impact the more you're spreading out that liquidity, right? So if you just
Right.
bring it all down, consolidate it, now it's, deeper liquidity is, offers, a broader spectrum of trading, less price impact, less slippage happens. It's literally just better for the industry.
I agree, and I think also in some projects that I've been in that have this sort of split liquidity across different chains, especially in DeFi, where people can be even more fickle with projects. When one of the other weaker chains with lower TVL starts to, if there's a bank run on that chain,
Totally.
it affects the other chains. Like the investor sentiment changes, everyone gets scared across all the chains. But really, that chain was just weaker, and the TVL was just really low anyway. So I know it's just an interesting concept that I think you guys are solving with this.
And honestly, the only one making money on that is the arbitrators that are, it's
Yeah,
the nerds
yeah.
of the computers just like, hammering the bots,
Oh,
and
right,
you know,
right. So okay, so these projects that are now able to get some of these swap fees, you guys, L1 Dex has like a base fee, I guess, that you guys collect no matter what for these projects.
yeah,
Like, okay,
yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
right, and then they can add something on top of that, I guess, in order to also.
correct.
I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
that's really great.
it's also negotiable too. If larger, obviously, like our partner exchanges, we don't actually take anything off the top. We're not saying, come on board with us, and then lose out on the 0.3% swap fee that you're making, right? That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
But by bringing it on,
Mhm.
there's actually a margin between, they could still keep their 3%. And because of the efficiency, the end user is still going to be paying less, even if we do put tax it a little bit for for facilitating, it's still going to be cheaper than what they would do
That's
on,
wild. That's
Ethereum. You know
so
what I mean?
wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, for the real financial nerds out there, that means more potential revenue for us and for our users. I mean, again, because we're with the real yield model, and we glossed over this a little
Mm.
bit, but we're rewarding all the LP providers and stakers in real yield, which is generated from the protocol. So the more revenue that we can generate as a DEX, potentially the higher the APRs will be in these LP pools, which
Interesting, yeah.
again, I mean, that's something we've never seen before. We could be getting 50 to 100% APR on blue chip assets. I mean, that is another giant billboard of
Wow.
adoption. Everybody and their grandma is going to be wanting to provide liquidity for us to get part of those rewards. So, and again, like Jake said, even if we do up the fees in the background, it's still cheaper to the end user because of all this efficiency that we've made up on the swap fees. Again, going from chain to chain or asset to asset. So yeah.
Yeah, what I love about the philosophy of L1X and what you guys are doing with the DEX is it's always like win-win. So it's like it's a win for you guys, it's a win for the investor, it's a win for the protocols, for the projects, it's a win for the DEXs that are partnering with you. It's not just like it's always I don't know, I just appreciate that. That's so refreshing in the space. And
Yeah.
I think that's only going to make it be the adoption rate it's just going to be so much easier.
But I'll tell you what else too is, that the last point that AJ was mentioning is actually a two-way street too, right? So like one of the reasons why we're able to offer that, probably better than APRs than most people are used to on blue chips,
Mhm.
is because, one, it's consolidated, right? We don't need, we're not trying to operate 8 chains individually, right? So, if you think about it, if you want to trade ETH on 8 chains normally, you have to have ETH USDC on one chain, ETH USDC, like you have to have 8 pairs of ETH USDC, right? And then another step further is we have this, really interesting multi-chain balancer pool. So we don't even need ETH USDC on each pool. We don't need uh, USDC DAI on every pool. We can have this all in one single pool, right? And they all balance each other, right? So just the efficiency of having like literally one LP
Hmm.
versus dozens of LPs across different chains,
Wow.
means that the rewards that we have to offer, right? They can be given to just a single provider, and not spread out. And again, that works for partners as well. It's the same philosophy, right? If a partner project or a partner exchange, does the same thing, you know, there's only a finite amount of rewards to go around, right? So if you're
Mhm.
providing rewards on 8 different chains,
Yeah.
it's the same principle. You consolidate it. You don't need as much liquidity actually. You could literally give out half the amount of rewards because you might only need half the amount of liquidity, and you'll still outperform maybe 3 or 4x the price impact and stuff that you would have maybe when it's all spread out,
Yeah, that's interesting to think about. So, okay, along those lines, for the people that we talked a lot about the functionality, the utility of the decks, but yeah, speaking to the people that are the degens or the people that just want to make money on what the dex has to offer, what do you say to those guys? How can they do that? What are the opportunities there?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, again, we're all here to try to put our money to work for us and make
Yeah,
money.
right.
We all have that inner degen for sure. But the idea is that we're eliminating that degen mentality.
Yeah, yeah.
And providing real yield. And again, I think this is really powerful. On the education side, where we're removing a lot of the risk,
Mhm.
and actually, still providing these quote unquote degen APRs
Right.
or APYs, and again, it's all based on volume. It may be lower, it may be higher. We have some L1X tokens that are gonna supplement some of the rewards, especially in the very very beginning.
Uh-huh.
But our runway again, we may not even have to use a lot of those tokens, and really start moving again towards this real yield. And if we get the adoption that we think we're going to get, again, like I mentioned earlier, the APR could actually go up because of, again, all the volume that we're doing. So we've planned for all that. And it's really, again, powerful in terms of economics. And at the
Mhm.
end of the day, because we don't have that reward token and this real yield model, all that economic momentum is put right into the L1X token. So again, imagine using Uniswap or PancakeSwap and earning actual ETH or actual BNB token. I mean,
Yeah.
again, it allows you to then, rather than selling the L1X, which again everybody can do what they want, but
Yeah.
now you can use it to earn more or to pay for gas fees or to stake into a node. So the
Right.
utility is just off the charts for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. So just to clarify for people who are watching right now, what they're saying is there's no reward token for the L1 deck. So like with PancakeSwap, you've got the cake token, things like that. So what usually happens with those reward tokens is over time, it's inflationary and the tokens just become worth less and less and less. And usually, I guess the reason for doing those tokens anyway is it's a huge moneymaker for, I guess, the people who own the decks. Is that right? Um, First and foremost, I mean, that is one of the opportunities for them is they pocket probably a bunch of those tokens whenever they want.
Totally, totally.
Sure.
Yeah, and so by saying, "No, we're not gonna do that," maybe you could, just drill in just a little bit more what that does, and does that put more buy pressure on the L1X token? Because are you guys gonna be buying that to give it out as rewards, or how does that work?
Yeah,
Go ahead,
exactly.
Jake. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the whole idea. AJ mentioned we do have a runway of tokens.
Yeah.
And it, sure. I mean, most of these dexes, they operate because they have these reward tokens.
Mhm.
Because honestly, no one would come in if they're not getting, high APRs.
Mhm.
But
Right.
we look at it as this runway as almost like marketing, right? So we're able to offer high APRs to begin with, right? But in order to be sustainable, you need to have real yield coming in, real revenue. And so with that the real revenue that we're bringing in is actually going back to buy more L1X, which then fuels the growth, right? So
Right.
think about once the runway's out, then it's literally just all buy pressure after that. And I in a lot of cases, honestly, it's probably just not feasible, right? Like, in fact, some dexes have even tried to start implementing this where they offer like a dual reward token where they do have their inflationary, in-house
Mhm.
token, and then they also kind of add on, some ETH or some additional rewards from the swap fees.
Yeah.
But the fact is, it's not sustainable because they're just not. It's so fragmented that they're not. No one's providing the volume. Like maybe Uniswap or PancakeSwap or someone, now that have enough POL, maybe they can start doing it, and maybe they will.
Mhm.
Who knows? I guess, but we feel just so confident that it's not. If we were just building a DEX, a solid fork or something like that, we wouldn't be doing it. You know what I mean? We're
Right.
the the exchange that we're building, is more than just an exchange. It's an omni-chain, bridgeless cross-chain exchange. So filling
Yeah.
this gap, filling this need. So
Yes.
as long as we have the base liquidity, people are going to come no matter what. They're not, we want to make it attractive, especially in the beginning, but
Yeah.
not counting on pumping out rewards to make sure people try to use this exchange, right? Like how many exchanges are literally getting all their swap fees just by selling their own token? You know what I mean? That's where a
Mhm.
lot of the volume comes from. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
Just selling cake, selling cake, selling cake, and then buying more cake to pair up. It's just this like a vicious cycle that that drives the token in the ground, right? Where
That's
as
true.
what we're trying to do is build something, and we know that it works now. It's not even a question. People are going to come because it's the best way to get your money from chain to chain. So, they're going to come to trade tokens that aren't ours, and we'll be able to keep buying more, rewards to give back to people that are providing that LP.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's coming right from the swap fee. So again, pretend you're swapping, USDC on from ETH to
Okay.
Phantom. That little small percentage, we get that in actual USDC,
Okay.
and then we're able to again buy L1X and then reward it. So it's a buy and distribute, and that's again under the hood. All that happens trustlessly, just based on code. And one thing too,
Hmm.
Matt, too, not to continue on this too long, but Jake brought up POL, so protocol owned liquidity,
Hmm.
and that's really important too, because as we continue to build out a portion, and again, all this will be in our final white paper. We have a light paper right now, and L1X has a 140-page white paper for
Man.
anybody that would really want to get into it. But a part of the fees that we retain as a DEX will actually go towards providing protocol owned liquidity on a lot of these larger pairs or that main balancer pool. And so over
Hmm.
time, we as a DEX are not only are we able to kind of control and have that guaranteed liquidity or lots of liquidity. Because with LP tokens, I mean, with LP providers, that is what we call mercenary liquidity. So if the
Right.
APR gets too low,
They're gone.
sometimes people, right, exactly,
Yeah.
they pull it. And so we're hedging against that as well by continually providing our POL, and simultaneously, that is a healthy reduction in the amount of rewards that we have to pay out to
Wow.
LP providers over the long run, and makes us even more profitable as a DEX moving forward because we are owning our own liquidity. So again, there's just so many factors
Hmm.
that between Jake and I, and our respective teams that we have thought about, and we're in crypto every day. We see the pitfalls, so
Yeah.
we're designing this to be, a better solution in literally every way possible.
Yeah, it seems like it. It seems like you guys have really tried to look at every angle of this, and I think it's definitely showing. So we've got this amazing uh, bridge or non-bridge opportunity, however you want to call it, tunnel opportunity, which I think is going to drive a lot of volume. Then you have all these amazing just swap features within the DEX, which is going to drive a lot of volume. And just so people can put it in perspective, I heard you mention this before, but could you throw out some numbers of what Uniswap or PancakeSwap, what kind of fees are they collecting, on average? And then what do you guys? I know you can't really say a number, but I mean, just to put in perspective for people.
Yeah, Jake, you want me to handle that? I know you've been doing some more updated research on the amount of volume that we're seeing, so maybe go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we honestly, we don't, I never like to kind of give hard numbers, on, our
Yeah,
projections. You know what I mean?
right.
I like to be, conservative, if anything. But, I mean, Uniswap, like if you just look at Uniswap, they're doing hundreds of millions in volume. Like I said, the bridge, I like to kind of narrow it down to, our industry, even just at the bridge level. Like I said, $80 billion a year,
Yeah,
in bridges right
crazy.
now, which, like, I think that's just like super low hanging fruit. Like I said, even if we were to take topple just Stargate, we're talking about like $100,000 a day in revenue.
Yeah.
And then again, like I said, there's an opportunity cost where
Yep.
potentially it's bridging and swapping all at the same
All in one.
time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean we've done our own projections.
Yeah. You don't have to
And
say any
again,
projections.
they're super conservative just because we want to make sure the model works on a low,
Totally.
on the modest guidance. Um, but the opportunity is pretty great in general.
Yeah, I just thought it would be cool for people to hear those numbers of what the big players are doing. And like we talked about earlier, there's really not brand loyalty other than if you feel there's security there and you can trust if the trust is there. I think there's some loyalty there, but it's not like those other names that we listed are outrageously amazing at what they do. They're just the best of what's out there, and I guess maybe the most trusted of what's out there. So for you guys to step into a piece of that volume or whatever isn't unheard of, especially if you're doing things in a better way, a more efficient way, possibly a more secure way. You start adding a lot of those things that you're doing better in there. I just think, yeah, I mean, I don't see why you guys couldn't do some amazing volume.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and again, to your point about security, we also are again, I mean, the proof is in the pudding as people start using this,
Right.
and there are no
Right.
exploits, but we also are getting audits. There's been some internal audits that already came back. And everything is looking really good. Again, we're not part of the L1X team, so I don't want to
Yeah.
drop too much alpha. But again, I mean, they are doing all the due diligence on their side, and that plays directly into the decks as we build it out too. So absolutely. Yep.
Very cool. Well, what can people do now? So right now, you guys just launched the beta for L1 Dex, right?
Yeah, so technically right now, it's a closed beta. Again, we're doing the swapping internally right now on limited liquidity, making sure everything is looking good.
Hmm.
And then we have a multi-step rollout plan because with the change just going live a few days ago, there is a lot of infrastructure that has to happen. And some people may see that as a delay, but it's really not. It's just
Right.
a systematic order of operation that things have to go. So
Yep.
a lot of that is the repos and the libraries that have to be set up in terms of code. Again, as Jake said, all the SDKs. We're going to be the first one to be using these SDKs as the DEX. And then even something as simple as the Explorer, like you see at
Oh yeah.
EtherScan
Yeah.
or BSC scan, the Explorer has to go up. And again, for your channel only, Matt, I cannot confirm nor deny, but we have seen the Explorer, and I think people are going to be really excited for that too because it really
Cool.
adds a whole nother level. Again, with this interoperability piece as well. So, but yeah, all that will be coming. Jake, I don't know if you want to comment a little bit more on the roadmap or as things go, but
Sure.
we know that we have the tech.
Hmm.
Now it's just us trying to be conservative on making sure there's enough liquidity, making sure that we have a really solid rollout.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we have a super aggressive roadmap. Things borrowing and lending. We didn't even touch on that, but
That's good.
actually not only just borrowing and lending, but like because you can move funds between, we can actually offer like the first borrowing and lending aggregator, right? That can find aggregate the best lending rates on 10 different chains, and then users can just come to one spot and pick the best rates. um, Things like some of these advanced vault systems and our
Mm.
ETFs that that we already have on Arbitrum, and it's actually on multiple chains, but we're going to bring some of that stuff over. Um, and honestly, just we're actually some of the stuff is like already exciting that we're really happy
Yeah.
with what it is now, but
But
like
you're way out.
the
Yeah.
vault, we have this vault system where you can add three LPs into a single vault, right? And they auto balance,
Hmm.
and like auto take profit, right? And we've actually shown that this auto balancing can actually earn 6 to 7% more money by basically DCAing into these different vaults at the same time automatically. And we've like proven this compared to some competitors, but now bringing stuff like that onto L1X, where you can actually have 3 different vaults from 3 different chains in the same same vault. So
That's
there's
really
really
cool.
a lot of cool things we can do. But yeah, like AJ mentioned, it was kind of just a big sigh of relief, almost like we're the ones building it, and there's still in the back of your mind you're thinking, well, this can't actually work, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yes.
so honestly, just after getting the first transaction through on mainnet, I mentioned yesterday, like I feel like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We got this golden ticket now. The only thing that can really stop us is a botched launch. Something doesn't
Yeah.
happen. We don't have enough liquidity, some kind of security thing we missed or something. So we really just want to we're so far ahead of the game that there's just no rush anymore. The pressure's kind of off now. We know it works. We just want to make sure everything's done in the right order. Everyone's
Right.
happy that they get what they're expecting out of their first transaction.
That's awesome. Yeah, it seems like you guys are doing this the right way, with your head in the right place. One of my favorite quotes, which I don't even know who the quote's by, but it says that what is now proven was once only imagined. So as you guys are doing something that's never been done before in the crypto space, I understand the feeling, but yeah, you guys are taking something that has never been done and creating something new, which I think is how the space moves forward. So, um, congrats on doing that. I know you guys still have a lot to work out, but congrats on the endeavor and what you guys are doing so far. And I guess I'll point people to joining your guys' communities. AJ, if you want to tell them where to go to jump
Yeah,
in and learn more.
absolutely, Matt. So again, it's been an absolute pleasure, brother. Always love coming on, and yeah, we are in full marketing mode right now as well.
Yeah,
Again, not only this AMA, but we've done countless others.
right.
Every AMA, there's a little nugget that's dropped. So I know earlier in the conversation we talked about a lot of stuff we do on other AMAs, but
Cool.
please definitely go watch some other AMAs. And join our socials. So we're heavily involved in Twitter, Telegram, and Discord, but we're also heavily involved on DBank. So DBank has been
Okay.
an amazing. They've rolled out their own social media platform, and all of our projects, EMP, Dex Finance, L1 Dex, and SparkSwap, we're all in like the top 100 protocols on that chain are on DBank
Wow.
already. So definitely follow us over there. That's a great way. And we're running different giveaways, some alpha that we dropped in some other AMAs. That I'm happy to reiterate here is that
Sure.
we're also going to be doing an airdrop. So for
Okay.
those DGens or yield hunters, we're doing $100,000 airdrop in L1X tokens for people that either engage in our socials or
Nice.
actually use the DEX.
Okay.
So again, a way to drive adoption and volume. And maybe if you didn't get involved with L1X, that'll be a great way to use the DEX for free by getting some of these airdrop tokens. So, and then one last thing I do want to touch on is that if you do want exposure, to L1X, we are hosting a public sale. As well. So we hosted a private sale earlier in the year. Again, we
Yep.
were on the channel for that. That was at 10 cents per L1X, and that was with a 15-year vesting schedule. So you only get one 15th of your token each month, which again has now started
Yeah.
because the chain
Yeah.
is officially live. And we'll have a whole nother post about how to get your tokens. But
Sure.
again, that being said, you can actually get L1X now at 50 cents, which is just a modest 5x from pre-sale,
Right.
and you get them immediately, so you don't have to vest
Okay.
them.
Okay.
And again, there's an amazing opportunity there. Jake does a great job of explaining it, but you can actually earn while essentially having no risk of the token going lower, at least until the official launch in January. Jake, you want to explain that real quick?
Yeah. So again, the ongoing pre-sale right now, the public sale, it's immediate vesting, right? So your tokens right away.
Mm-hmm.
The tokens actually aren't tradable until January when the full mainnet rolls out.
Mm-hmm.
And in the interim, in Q4, there's going to be a peer-to-peer trading market, right? So kind of a little middle ground where people will still be able to have them a little more not quite liquid, but they'll be able to sell them if they want.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is a price floor of 50 cents. So and actually, I believe in January there'll be another official price point. So basically what you're looking at is like an opportunity where you can buy at 50 cents now, and then for the next 3-4 months until it's tradable, you can use them to stake in the nodes. You can use them for LP staking, so you can actually earn on these. And it's like it's a guaranteed price floor of 50 cents, so you're not going to be losing any money. And in 4 months it's a 2x. Meanwhile, you're able to earn on them the whole time.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
So again, it's a very unique proposition for
Yep.
those that want to get in, and yeah, and also there is some perks as well. So if you contribute 1,000 or more dollars, not calculated in tokens, but dollar wise, if you contribute $1,000 or more, you get early access to this wallet. The L1X wallet that we discussed a little earlier. For 5,000 or more, you are entitled to an event listener node license. And again, that's one of the unique things about L1X. That's how this interoperability is achieved. And then the big dog is a $25,000. Anybody contributing that or more, and in increments of 25K will get the full validator node license. So, and again,
Cool.
I think there's about 100 million L1X tokens that are going to be rewarded to node operators over the
Wow.
next 5 years. So again, it could be very lucrative as well. But yeah, that really is
Awesome.
it, man. We covered it all, Matt. Again, it was an absolute pleasure. And yeah, Jake, anything you want to add or any final questions, Matt?
Yeah,
No.
I without shamelessly shilling, obviously L1X is AJ and I both have our own personal bags filled, but
Mm,
there is also, for those of you that are interested in exposure to the DEX itself, again, while we don't have a actual DEX token, and a large portion of all the earnings will be funneled back into real yield rewards for LP stakers. The leftovers are split up between AJ and myself, and funneled back to our individual governance tokens. So if you're looking for direct exposure to the DEX, you can always find more information about our two projects, and eShare and GDEX. We'll
oh,
also
cool.
get direct revenue from the DEX.
Totally.
Yeah. Awesome, you guys. Well, hey, I really appreciate it. I feel like there's so much to talk about. It's almost hard to cover it all in the time that we have, but I think you guys did a great job of covering it, at least at a base level, for people to understand the disruptive technology that you guys are bringing about, that you're working on, and the opportunity that's there for people who want to invest in that now. So again, I appreciate having you guys on. Jake, great to finally have you on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely great to meet you, and love what you're doing in the space. AJ, it's always a pleasure, like you said. But yep, you guys just joined their socials that they talked about if you want to learn more. And that wraps up the AMA for today. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. And with that, we'll say goodbye.